this Megaworld property is looking to charge 300 pesos to property owners for every Airbnb guest that they book per night. So if you happen to get fully booked 30 nights in 1 month, you would have to pay a total of 9,000 pesos to the admin office. So it seems that the tone of Megaworld regarding Airbnb is changing. With this, I just don't think I can recommend Megaworld anymore. And the bad news is those aren't all the fees. What are those fees and where is this Megaworld property located? This is what we'll look to cover in detail in this video. So if you're curious, stick around and let's find out. Let's go. But before anything, if you are new to this channel, hi, I'm Mark. It's nice to meet you. In this channel, I talk a little bit about lifestyle, but I mostly talk about business and investments. And while in this channel, I talk a lot about investment funds, the S&P 500. One of the main series of videos that I've done in this channel is about being an Airbnb host. So a few years ago, I started with my video about which property developer is allowing Airbnb. And in the last year, I narrowed them down to SMDC and Megaworld. They probably have the most developments around the country. And for the most part, these two are the most tolerant or even encouraging of having your place as an Airbnb or offered for short-term rental guests. In a head-to-head comparison that I had between SMDC and Megaworld, I picked Megaworld before, but with these recent developments, it just seems like Megaworld is changing. They are slowly or maybe even quickly outlawing Airbnb in their properties. Now, while I have to make it clear that I am still hosting in a handful of Megaworld properties, this is unfortunately changing, especially for their newer developments and properties that are somewhat situated in an upper scale part of Metro Manila or even around the Philippines. So again, I am continuing to host in some Megaworld properties, but as of this most recent development, in a meeting in December 2024, just a little over a month ago, I actually witnessed these changes that would ultimately be a killer of Airbnb in this specific development. And while these proposed changes are not yet final, it's just not looking good. Actually, if none of the property owners spoke out and really gave a violent, loud cry of disapproval for these changes, these would have been final. So let me now walk you through these proposed changes, these new rules that this specific Megaworld property is looking to impose on property owners that offer their place as an Airbnb. Number one on this list is the charge of 300 pesos per night that your place gets booked as an Airbnb. So again, this is not 300 per booking. This is 300 pesos per night. Again, if you happen to get fully booked 30 nights, that's 9,000 pesos per month. And if you're lucky enough to get booked throughout the year, let's say you get booked 300 or even 365 nights, that would at least be over 100,000 pesos that you would need to give up, that you should be enjoying as your profits, but are now going to the property admin office. So that's just number one. Number two, the admin office is looking to charge a 10,000 fixed registration fee that you would need to pay them at the start of every year. So this is not a one-time registration fee. This is something that gets renewed annually. And number three, on top of the registration fee, they are looking to charge another 10,000 pesos. This is where they will be deducting any charges, violations against their house rules. It seems that this Megaworld property is really looking to milk the most of what they can get. The property admin office actually says that that's not the point. They're not trying to make money off of this, but just trying to keep the peace, the order in the building, which is fair enough. So let's go through their points, their rationale on why they need to charge. So they say that Airbnb guests are harder to manage, so there are more security, more people that they need in reception. I guess you will always have guests that are checking in late at night. These properties are functioning as a pseudo hotel reception. And the other thing that they're pointing out is that Airbnb guests are actually putting additional constraints on the elevators, the amenities, the swimming pools, the gyms, which also sounds about right, but some property owners are saying that association dues are being paid monthly by all property owners, and regardless of people staying there as an Airbnb guest, or if they were actually staying there as an owner, this should not be putting additional constraints on the elevators, the amenities. If everyone was to go swimming every day in the pools, if they live there and not as an Airbnb, then they would be in the same deadlock, the same problem that they'd be encountering in maintaining these amenities. So there's a lot of deliberation right now that's happening between the property owners and the admin office. We're waiting to see what these new changes will really be. With these justifications in place, let's see how SMDC actually does it. So I am also an Airbnb host in SMDC properties. A lot of them I met through this channel, through you guys. I am thankful that you have entrusted me to manage your property on your behalf. If you are interested in this program, you can visit this link down below. Anyway, in SMDC, they don't charge any of these registration fees or bonds to cover the issue about degradation of the pool. What they actually do is charge 150 pesos per person per day on regular days. On holidays when there are more people and there is a higher demand, SMDC charges 300 pesos. So that is a very reasonable arrangement. And with regards to profiting from per guest per night that are coming in, SMDC is not really doing this, but they have what you call a guest authorization form. It's called the GAF. So every month, SMDC actually allows each unit 4 free GAFs. After the 4th GAF, SMDC charges 20 pesos per guest authorization that you prepare. So this is not per guest, meaning per individual. This is actually per booking. So if you happen to get 10 sets of booking in a month, the first 4 would be free and the next 6 would be charged at 40 pesos each. So you would have to pay the admin 240 pesos for the 10 set of guests that you had through the course of the month. SMDC is not charging every night. They are just charging per booking, and they even give you a certain allowance as to how much you can get for free. Between Megaworld and SMDC, SMDC usually has a lot more units per floor. They have a lot more Airbnb guests to manage, and they manage to maintain the sense of order in their place, even their amenities. So it just doesn't feel right that Megaworld is trying to earn so much from these Airbnb initiatives. So that's what they're trying to charge. And let me now walk you through the numbers of why this ultimately kills Airbnb in a Megaworld property. Let's say you're able to charge 2,000 pesos per night in your Megaworld property. I know there are properties wherein this may be higher and may be lower, so let's peg it as a realistic 2,000 pesos per night. And let's say over the course of 1 month, we get booked 90% of the time. 54,000 pesos in total, which is the equivalent of 27 nights booked. From your 54,000 pesos that you earn in a month, the 300 pesos that Megaworld will charge per night will come out to 8,100 pesos. So let's just peg it at 8,000. So 54 minus 8, we are already at 46,000 pesos. That's a lot of your earnings right away. Let's move on to other expenses. So let's say electricity. Usually a place that has an inverter air conditioning averages around 5,000 pesos per air conditioner. Let's just peg it at 5,000 pesos minus 5,000 pesos. So we are now at 41,000 pesos. Let's say your internet is anywhere from 1,500 pesos to 2,000. So that pegs us down now to 39,000 pesos. The biggest expense is the cost of your acquisition of the property. I myself have been paying 35,000 pesos in the last several years from my housing loan. And I know this might be similar to a lot of you who are paying off a mortgage to purchase your property. Maybe you're not. Maybe you had the cash lying around. Well, good for you. My housing loan was actually a decade ago, and I know that now it's actually higher with higher interest rates. But let's just go with my example that I'm paying around 35,000 pesos. So from the 39,000 pesos that we're left with, 35,000 pesos will go to the bank. So I'm left with 4,000 pesos. And the only way for me to keep these 4,000 pesos would be to clean up the property myself, meaning I will not have a cleaner. I probably have to leave my day job when I clean up, theoretically speaking. I would also not send laundry out and do the laundry myself. That 4,000 profit is usually something that you would have to pay your cleaners, your laundromat, and you would have to also buy supplies, cleaning materials. So ultimately, the 8,000 pesos that Megaworld is getting is super unnecessary. The 8,000 pesos is what you're actually going to be earning as an Airbnb host when you factor in all those deductions, all those expenses over a 90% occupancy rate, and maybe we can't even do 90% occupancy. So doing the math here, you see that these proposed changes by Megaworld is ultimately an Airbnb killer, and this is what I'm afraid of. And while I'm able to continue doing this in some of their properties, I just don't see them as really supporting Airbnb if this is their main directive in one of their properties. So the property I'm talking about is one of their properties in the Uptown BGC area. Most of the Uptown BGC properties are actually disallowing Airbnb from the very start. I know this is difficult for a lot of you. A lot of you went into the investment thinking that you can Airbnb it, and Megaworld actually went out there, told everyone Airbnb-friendly, so on and so forth, and this is what I've been talking about from the start, that building admins are actually very powerful. They can disallow Airbnb just like that, and you are stuck with really not knowing what to do with your property. And just as an added disclaimer, I've told you guys before that I actually don't recommend buying a property for the sole purpose of Airbnb-ing it. If you buy a property, don't have it in mind that the only way for you to be recovering the property is through Airbnb. Have it in mind that perhaps you will be looking at a long-term rental, perhaps you will be using the place, you believe in that property, the developer, on how it will be appreciating in the long run. Because Airbnb as a plan A, as a go-to, is actually quite unreliable. I mean, at any point, there are rules coming into play that may change the perspective of the building or even the government against Airbnb. As my stand has been from before, I am never recommending buying a property for the sole purpose of Airbnb. So what do you think about these new changes that Megaworld is looking to implement? I think they should just follow SMDC's example. Very straightforward, easy on the operations, and good for everyone. If you are a Megaworld property owner, let me know your experience in the comment section. Perhaps it's Airbnb related, or even if it's not, let me know down below. If you've liked this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching, guys, and happy Airbnb hosting!